Hey friends, Sean O'Shea here with Kawai. I'm here at model CP2 and I want to talk to you today about a wonderful feature found on the CP series. That's the CP2, CP1, and CP3. It's called registration settings. What are registration settings? Well, as you know, the CP is an incredibly capable instrument. I refer to it often as the creation station. That's because there's a palette of almost 1,000 sounds. You can mix and match sounds the way you'd like. You can adjust the volume settings and the transposition and the way the pedals work, and a very, very incredibly long list of customizable areas to get exactly the type of performance and sound that you want. You wouldn't want to have to go through all those changes every time you want to call up that particular setting. So registration settings is kind of like quickly finding your favorite car radio station in your vehicle, just one touch. It works very, very simply. And since we have 80 different registration settings available on the CP3 and 160 of them in the CP2 and CP1, we decided to give you lots and lots of our own suggestions for what you might like to do with those different sounds. And just as one of many different areas, let's explore how that works. First of all, over on the left side, you'll see the blue button, Registration Groups. This brings up 10 different settings on the CP3, and thanks to a page 2, 20 settings on CP1 and CP2. The default is American Pop. That's the one that will be highlighted out of the box. But what I want to talk to you today about is pipe organs, the very first pipe organ that comes up. That gives you these 8 different pipe organs, or if you were on strings, it would be 8 different string-related things, and touch brass, it would be 8 different brass-related settings. Right now, I'd like to just show you what we did with the pipe organs. To activate those, pick the one you want, and I'm going to run them in order, 1 through 8. Two. 3. 'Well, let's just say that you would like to make your own registration setting. Let's go back to the way the piano powers up. And rather than shutting the piano off and turning it back on, what you can do, by the way, is just press and hold piano only for a couple of seconds. Just touching piano only very quickly activates a piano sound on the right side, but pushing it and holding it for a couple of seconds turns all the sounds back to the factory setting. So let's go back to there. And let's check out sound number 2. Oh, by the way, if you've not watched my CP video on sound layering, it might be a good idea to pause this one and go check that one out first, because I'm not going to elaborate on sound layering right now, and you might be a little puzzled about how I'm bringing sounds in and out. So if that's something you're not already acquainted with, pause this one, go take a look at sound layering, and then come on back. All right, so the default here being strings. Let's say I don't really want those strings. I would like people singing. Breathy choir. So now when I start with the piano, and I have the people singing, and you know what? They're kind of drowning out, I think, the piano a little bit. So I go to my mixer and turn down my other sounds. Yeah, that's the way I want it. So now I want to be able to find that setup again easily. Here's how it works. Activate registration groups, again, touching the blue button. Decide which one of the registration groups you'd like to save it in. Maybe you kind of like ours and you'd like to save them. We've given you one called user. You might want to choose to save it there. And I'll go ahead and save it into that group. Well, where exactly do you want to do it? Well, I'd like to be able to find it quickly at number 1. Saving. Boom, and it's there. So just to prove to you that it works, let me get out of this and go to one of the other ones. Okay, so completely different sound. Let's go back to registration groups. Touch the group named user and number 1 and look how easy that was to save. Now, I can't wrap my head around needing more than 80, or in this case, 160 user registrations. But let's just say the instrument's in a multi-user situation, maybe a school or a church where there's a number of people using the instrument. You may wish to just get a little USB thumb drive, pop it in there, and save your favorite registrations off onto that stick. Maybe you're a worship leader and you've done a lot of work creating the perfect Easter service, for example. You can go ahead and save all of those sounds or setups onto your USB device and save it for next year's service. So there's a lot of great uses to the registration settings. Above all, I'm going to remind you again, I probably sound like a broken record when I bring this up, but please don't be afraid to push buttons. Go ahead and explore. And if something just gets funky and you don't know what you did, or you think maybe you goofed, shut the instrument off, turn it back on in a worst case scenario. And if you're feeling confused, we are just a phone call or an email away. That's why we're doing these videos. We really want you to get into this instrument and really uncover all the magnificence that it is. So you let us know how we can help you do that. So check out the registration groups and have yourself a blast.